Whether you like to see long trains running at the same time, like here, or you just like to see switching action with lots of bangs, there's something here for you. Hi, this is Burr Stewart, and welcome to an informal video about an operating session that I attended on Jim Radkey's BNSF Pink Lady Sub during the Bay Rail's operations weekend in March of 2025. This is a really fun layout. It's the second time I'd been there in my life, and Jim has made a lot of progress on it since the last time that I was there. Here is a map showing the overall plan of the different towns on his layout, and this is the lineup of trains. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, just wanted you to have it to see. At the main yard, he had some really useful abbreviations here, like Ready to Roll and TBS for To Be Sorted. And these were the train symbol abbreviations that he used to help the yardmaster and the operators figure out what train they were running. Now, when you got a train assigned to you, you got a little packet with directions and your car cards if needed. So feel free to check those aids out if you're interested, but I'm going to give you a quick walking tour here. The main yard is on the bottom, the engine terminal, and then a little tiny bit of scenery that he's done, which I'll show you. And on the upper level is a coal mine, which is the main purpose of the Pink Lady Sub, at least it originally was. And then there's a peninsula over here with some other switching areas on the top deck, as well as a huge switching area down on the bottom deck, which is called Alison's Corner, named after his daughter. And you can see a little pink foam there, which is why it's called the Pink Lady Sub. Now, before we get into some specific switching, I wanted to show you a bang! And this was being done by another operator during the op session who got lucky and had a nice Santa Fe locomotive. Of course, this layout is, I guess, set in about the 1990s with Santa Fe and BN equipment and BNSF, of course. So that was a coupling and an uncoupling maneuver. I wanted to dwell on this flat car load because I really enjoy flat car loads, as I'm sure you do. And I'll have a few pictures. Now here's a shot of the train instruction that I got, and I'll let you read it, but the main thing was to go to Alison's Corner with some cars and exchange them for some other cars. Here's my first bang with my Western Pacific GP40. Now, meanwhile, there was a grain train coming down from the upper staging yard being run by Dave Barraza, and you can see that. You might recognize him as a dispatcher's helper in one of my operating sessions last year at our Sound Rails operating weekend. Anyway, he was having just as much fun as I was.
That's a lap. That's a lap. He's routed us through the interlocking at the same time.
Now, there was a second train that was heading up there. You can see that on the left. But I didn't really have time to dwell on this because I needed to get back to my switching job.
BNSF 1099.
There's supposed to be a stool here.
The owner stole it. 1099 is Claire Jenkins Junction, complete with a hack.
You can see Dave is talking to the dispatcher by radio there. One of the fun things about a big layout like this. And I really like the slinking curved tracks too. So meanwhile, back to my switching job. I had to pull out some hopper cars and put in some hopper cars.
These are all Alison?
Bang! I don't think those couplers mated, so I had to go and figure that out again. And of course, here's a famous legacy model railroad car from the Canandaigua Southern, honoring the famous track Bang! Planner John Armstrong. Now meanwhile, somebody else was running through town on the main line while I was banging. There's a lot of banging involved in a switch job like this Alison's Corner job. Now I have no idea what that farmhouse is doing there in the background, but I guess we'll find out in future years. There's some other cool open loads. Those look like Legos, but they're not. They're the little pieces that come off of track lighting. If you're familiar with track lighting, you'll know what I'm talking about. Well, here we go again. I'm not sure, but I think we're about in for another bang. Yep, here we go. Ready? Bang! I really like the signs that he puts on the track, too. You can tell where you are. That says ML number 2 for the main line number 2. And I was clear of the main line off on a secondary track, which allowed that other train you saw to come roaring through. And he has his switches controlled by tortoise switch machines with little slide switches on the layout. I'm not sure how he's going to decorate those, but we'll find out soon enough. Now this is a lift-out bridge that goes across the door to the room, and it was being crossed here by a couple of units. You might recognize this front unit as one of the ex-Milwaukee Road diesels that were taken over, I guess, maybe by one of the manufacturers. I'm not sure. I mean, the leasing companies. It's hard to keep track of all the stuff going on in the railroad industry. We do the best we can, but here's that scenery spot I mentioned. This whole layout, and of course you see the pink foam there on the right. That's why he calls it the Pink Lady Sub, because there's a lot of pink foam around. He's showing here how you can use brown craft paper to just start to rough out contours, sprinkle some grass on it and a little paint, and before you know it, it looks like you might be planting some scenery. Now, some people will build their model railroad with, 5 feet of scenery finished layout and then move on to the next 5 feet. But Jim is doing a completely different thing here, which is to get a fully operational railroad going before he spends too much time on scenery. There's some track cleaners. You can see he's been hard at work with that. Uh-oh. Here we go again. Bang! This video is really for all of you that have been frustrated that I haven't been putting enough bang in my videos lately. Now that car came apart because it had been delayed uncoupled by my friend who was running the Santa Fe engine. I was just observing that move. I wasn't responsible for it. There's another example of how that little slide switch engages the tortoise machine to move the points. Are you following me? I'm kind of racing through this. I want you to enjoy it, but I don't want it to take too much time. But we do want to enjoy the sound of these modern DCC locomotives that we have to play with. Very nice. See a little flashing red light on top of the NCE throttle? That tells you that it's communicating with the radio, if you didn't know that. Now here's another shot of that scenic area. There's just kind of a hint to let you know that good things are coming in the future. And that's another very nice open load, as well as a double stack train with a full dynamic brake, which you can kind of hear in the background. It's funny, this train is rolling through a flat section. The dynamic brake probably should have been turned off before now. But it's a complicated thing to run a model railroad and to run a train on a model railroad. There's a lot to think about. Where you're cleared to go to and how fast to make your train and whether to blow for grade crossings. Now, after much effort on my part and many bangs, I finally brought my local job back into the main yard, and this is my GP40 with the cars I was able to pick up from the switching area that I was working in.
Something like that.
I thought I'd put the bell on while I was going through the yard in case there was any personnel that needed to know I was coming.
It's local work.
And you can see on the right there was a switcher on the right side of the yard who was moving a caboose and some cars there. I really love parallel moves on a model railroad, and this is a good example of it. It just feels so realistic. And then he took off while I was slowing down, which is also something that you see when you're rail fanning.
Go down to the blue car.
Now here's that scene that you saw in the very beginning where we had a whole bunch of multiple trains happening. There was a unit coal train down at the bottom that I was running that was going all the way up to the Pink Lady mine. And then Dave Barraza was running another train on the upper level. And I think there was a third train, but I'm not seeing it. All I'm seeing right now is my unit coal train with that striped red and white caboose. And you can see there another layout planning feature, which is an elevated platform on the floor to step up and see the upper deck better with. Here's my unit coal train coming through the main yard. Those pipes had already been spotted in the main yard. And there you can see that Santa Fe switcher. They're done with their work as well. This was later in the session. The engine coming in from the right is the local, the tramp switcher, you would call it, in the yard. Just trying to keep up with the classification work, we would call it. The railroaders don't call it that. I think they call it sorting. I'm not sure, though. Don't quote me on that. And the nice F units on the right there. I didn't really see them much, but I think they were Great Northern units, so I'm not sure what they're doing there. And there's an interesting camouflage caboose on the caboose track.
Stuff's got to go.
So we waited for quite a while getting to the coal mine because we had a work train coming down from staging, and this is a shot of the work train.
So I said I'll put it on the work train. It's going to be repurposed.
It may not mean much to you, but I waited for about 15 minutes for this train before I could bring the unit coal train of empties up to the mine. A nice little Santa Fe caboose there. There's a story of some of that equipment, but I don't know what the story is. So there's my empty coal train finally making it up towards the mine area. I don't know about you, but I always like a coal train, a unit coal train, either empty or loaded. It's just something about it. It's like a caterpillar. All the cars pretty much the same. I just published a video of a real BNSF coal train. I don't know how many years we'll still have coal trains, but for now it's just something to admire the massiveness of them. You can hear the dispatcher giving a track warrant to one of the operators.
3501 at Carbondale East.
This is a separate train.
Check box 2. Proceed from Carbondale East to NOW on main tracks. Check box 6.
To do that.
Exciting.
And for our last shot of the tour, I thought I would capture my unit train coming through these Jiggly S-curves. And you know from my other videos how much I like S-curves, so I had to show you this. So anyway, that gives you an idea of what an operating session is like on a model railroad that's designed and built for operations. It's a lot of fun, and I hope if you ever get a chance, you'll attend an op session or even build a railroad that's intended for them. So for now, this is Burr Stewart, as always, wishing you much fun with trains.
The instructions there say read the employee timetable. So I said I need to have the employee timetable. Where he's like,
Was this Paul you're asking?
oh yeah, of course it was. Yes. So before